Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready.
I went to the doctor today. Found out something I had no fucking idea about. I'm obese. Who knew?
So I just want to thank this creator for bringing up this point. And by the way, if you haven't, go look at her page. She's hilarious.
Are you aware of how heavy you are?
This is one of my biggest pet peeves. Obesity is one of the few chronic diseases that we blame the patient for. There are all kinds of negative stereotypes associated with this disease. And those stereotypes directly influence how we are treated by society. A person does not walk around in a plus-size body without being reminded on the daily that they are, in fact, in a plus-size body. From childhood, you know, your little friends making fun of you, teachers making comments, all the way through adulthood, where you have, you know, the cashier making comments about your grocery order, or your personal trainer calling you names when they think you're not in hearing range. Healthcare providers, family members, it's coming from everywhere. And this external bias often becomes internalized bias, right? We start blaming ourselves, we start feeling defeated. There is a lot of hurt and trauma that can be bottled up. So when you walk in the room and say, do you even know how big you are? You're telling me three things. One, you have no empathy or understanding of what it's like to walk around in this society in a larger body. Two, you're showing me some of your bias. You're implying that the only reason I could be this size is because I don't know I'm this size. Otherwise, I could have gotten off the couch and changed my diet and changed that. And three, you're showing me you're not an ally. Had you asked permission, or if it is even relevant to the reason for my visit today, I may have trusted you enough to tell you some of my story. People often have a story. Had you asked, you might have discovered this person already lost 50 pounds. You may have discovered this patient quit smoking after a 15-year addiction. Maybe she gained a little weight, but it's stabilized now. Or this patient's been seeing a therapist to help beat their eating disorder. You don't know unless you ask.
And of course you're gonna call me fatphobic. I have no irrational fear of people who are fat.
Fat phobia isn't the irrational fear of fat people. It's the irrational fear of becoming fat. Because you know how society treats us. And you're treating us that way. You can frame it as self-love and blah, 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 and all the other shit you're saying, but the science doesn't agree with you. The science says that what you are doing is harmful to fat people.
With all this discussion of the whale, I've been seeing a lot of people lacking true understanding of why fat suits are inherently harmful and fatphobic. Let's get into it. The usage of fat suits reinforce the societally held belief that fatness is not a natural state. It reinforces this idea that fatness is something that everyone can just take off. If you worked hard enough, there's a thin person inside of every fat person. This is emphasized with the unnatural look of most fat suits. Along with that, most actors who are wearing fat suits have never actually been the size that they are representing, and therefore, in the fat suit, the way that they move, the way that they express, the way that they sit, these things look unnatural because they are for that person. A thin person wearing a fat suit is never going to look natural because that is not that person's natural state.
When people are fat phobic on this platform, you should be uncomfortable. You should be uncomfortable. It is irresponsible to come on an app where there are vulnerable young people and be so fat phobic. To spread such hate and harm. And do it under the guise of caring about people. and making it about people not caring about themselves. You don't get to do that. And it's tolerated too much. And it's made light of heart too much. Fat phobia should make you uncomfortable because it is intertwined with every single other system of oppression that exists. It is related to sexism, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, classism. And so when you talk about one, you talk about it all. Which is why I say it is irresponsible, disrespectful, and hateful to come on this app and be fat phobic. And that is all I have to say on the matter. Because I've already said too much on the matter. And people are not uncomfortable enough for me. They're too comfortable. And I know it talked about ushering people to their seats, sitting people down, but I need you all to get up out of your seats and stop being so complicit and complacent when it comes to fat phobia. Stand up and show up. Learn something. And to learn, you need to unlearn. And it shouldn't be on us to teach you. But it is on you to stop spewing hateful, false, fat-phobic rhetoric. And furthermore, being tolerable of it. Thank you.
Associate with me, I will not associate with you if you're fat. That's when it matters because...
No, I totally get it because I actually don't associate with people who have adult braces. And if you're thinking, Erin, that's mean, she can't help but have not straight teeth. Some people just don't have not straight teeth. I think you just ran into the point.
Skinny shaming is just as bad as fat shaming.
You are literally the standard. You could have achieved thinness through literal drug addiction and nobody cares. Oftentimes, it's encouraged. All clothing companies cater to you, and very oftentimes, exclusively. People have gotten themselves to the brink of death just to achieve the body type that you have. You could have the worst eating habits known to man, and nobody cares if you're skinny. If you think that skinny shaming is anywhere equal to fat shaming because a guy rejected you because you're not thick and you don't have curves, then you're a fucking bitch. And before y'all skinny mini bitches say anything,
Argue with your mother about it.
But there is something clearly wrong with the woman on the right. Not saying that she's not worthy and deserving of love, because she is. But she's unhealthy. She can hardly fit in her freaking shoes. Why on earth would we promote people walking around and looking like this? And it's honestly mean to say that someone is beautiful and all this stuff when it's like we're literally lying to them and making them think that it's okay to be that way when it's really not, because it's hurting their health and it's shortening their lives. If you really care about people, you tell them the truth.
Here's a point-by-point breakdown on why everything that creator said is not okay and wrong. To start, you cannot determine someone's health just by how they look. Someone, thin or fat, could be experiencing suicidal ideation or other mental health struggles, could be addicted to something, could have really high cholesterol or low bone density or too high of a resting heart rate. They might have a chronic illness or other autoimmune disease. Thin people could have type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. And while no one owes you health, only thin people are assumed to be healthy and thus left alone. But they might not be healthy, and that's fine, especially given our lack of access to affordable, quality healthcare. Also, some people are their healthiest when they're fat. There are a million reasons that people are fat, but some include going on antidepressants and other genetic factors that just mean they have a higher set weight than others might, and now they're finally, for the first time ever, maybe not hyper-restricting anymore. Additionally, just existing in your body isn't promoting anything about your body. So if you think that the woman on the right deserves love and safety and everything else you claim to think, don't you think she also deserves the right to have a job, regardless of what industry that's in, modeling or otherwise? Because the most political thing about fatness being visible in brand campaigns right now is the fact that we haven't seen more of it before. Because fat people have always existed and we have discriminated against them. They're just existing. They're not promoting being fat. And finally, the most reliable explanation scientists have right now for what makes fat people less healthy than skinny people is the abuse they undergo. The fact that they are paid tens of thousands of dollars less per year than their straight-size counterparts. The fact that they're harassed in the street, not being able to find clothing that fits or sit at a restaurant or fit in an MRI machine to get preventative scans that you need. It's the discrimination that makes fat people unhealthy, nothing else. So actually, unsolicitedly telling fat people the cold hard truth, as this creator suggests, makes fat people's health worse.
This is a reminder to take your medicine. But moving on, one of the most common comments I get as a fat person who talks about fat phobia on my platform is that if I don't like being mistreated, I should just lose weight. I do have a pinned video which is entirely about why I am not pursuing weight loss. But regardless, I want to talk about this notion. This notion that if fat people have an issue with how we're treated, we should just lose weight. Because when thin people say things like this, what they're really doing is they're victim blaming. They're blaming fat people for the mistreatment that we experience solely on the basis of our weight. And honestly, the people that say these things are just telling on themselves. When people say, if you don't like it, just lose weight, what they're actually saying is that it's acceptable to mistreat an entire group of people based on how we look. And even more disturbing, what they're saying is that fat people in our current state are not worthy of dignity or respect. One thing fat people experience that thin people don't is that our body size is connected to our character in a very negative way. The stereotypes about fat people are that we are lazy, unintelligent, and greedy. And the people who are urging us to lose weight in order to deserve respect are saying this because they view fatness as the ultimate sin. They really think that being fat is something that we should be punished for, despite the fact that the majority of scientific evidence shows that fatness really isn't that much of a choice for most people. And this moralization of our body size also applies to our eating habits, our movement habits, the things we wear, the people we date. Pretty much everything about fat people and the way we live is moralized and heavily judged. We are literally not even allowed to breathe heavily in public without being judged by others. I don't dislike being fat because fatness is a horrible thing. I dislike the scrutiny and the judgment and mistreatment from other people. Regardless of our body size or health status or whatever, we don't deserve to be treated this way.
Being fat is not cute. You are going to have health problems and it's going to shorten your life because you're too lazy to get in the gym or to watch what you're eating. It's going to be difficult, especially if you've been living a life of gluttony.
I can't stand you bitches for the life of me, and the Lord is my witness. All right, Sandy Cheeks, let's get into it. You don't give a fuck about my health, or anyone else's for that matter. Let me tell you why. This is me. This is also me. If you would see me walk down the street tomorrow, you would still call me a fat, lazy bitch, just like many other people do in their head. The one and only time I told someone I wanted to go on a hike, they laughed at me saying, "You are going to go on a hike? How bizarre. You don't know how much I weighed last year, you don't know how much I weigh today, and that doesn't matter. As long as I don't look healthy to you, you will never consider me as such. 1 pound from now, or 5, 10, 15, I'll still be overweight. No matter how much I work out, no matter how healthy I eat, 15 pounds from now, I'll still be overweight. As long as I do not have the body measurements of a Barbie doll, you will never consider me a human being worthy of respect." Last year, there was this trend of skinny women showing off how they could eat family meals by themselves on a Mario Bros sound, and everyone thought it was cute.
3 Big Macs.
Because you didn't care about their health, you cared about how they looked. As long as that satisfied you, it was fine. The difference in comment sections, as soon as a bigger creator was doing it, is a social experiment in and of itself. When you get on Tinder and you see guys looking for girls they can work out with, they're not talking about me. I work out. But they're not actually looking for a woman who works out. They're looking for a woman who's skinny. It's just a way to filter out fat women. Just like they say, oh, I'm not fat phobic. I'm actually just more attracted to healthy people. I consider myself healthy, but that doesn't matter because they don't actually care about my health. They care about my looks. I say this from the bottom of my heart. I fucking hate you. And even if a fat person is not working out or trying to lose weight, we are still human beings. Sometimes it's okay to say you hate the sight of fat people. Just say it out loud so we know to stay away from you. I wouldn't want to bother you. Bitch, fuck you. And Gabriela Lascano, fuck you for opening that door, bitch. If I end up not losing weight and breaking your heart, just know there are other health causes you can invest yourself into. DM me. I'm a nurse. I can give you a list since you're so worried about people's health.